Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's July the 11th. This will be our chart list for today, and today was an interesting day. We really started out with an uptrend, and then we just went flat. I mean, it got really flat in here. There was also a data issue today that started sometime around 2 o'clock or so. They still haven't come out with any details on that yet as to exactly what happened and when it started, maybe when it ended. I think I got a email about 3:30 that it ended, but that was well after 2 o'clock, and so um, I don't know if it affected the data during this time period or not. I marked the trades anyway, and we'll just leave it at that. So until we see what came out, I'm glad I wasn't trading this afternoon, um, because you never know if prices suddenly stop trading here, and then when it starts trading back, it's down here. You could get burned. Um, that's very rare. I can't remember the last time there was an issue like that, but sometimes they happen, and that's one of the dangers of this business is that it can happen. But that's one of the reasons I like to day trade, because you don't have to worry about going to sleep and prices being. Here's a good example. If you're trading the daily charts, when the market closed yesterday, it was up trading up here. And when it opened back up at 8:30 this morning, it was trading way down here, which that's a 79. That's almost a 20-point drop. That's painful. But that's why I like to day trade, because you don't go carry anything home and you sleep well at night and you don't have to worry about that. But let's back out. We'll talk about the trend up. You can see we trended up. We had a close outside, moved to a new high, and then we sold off a little bit before we went into a trading range. And I just traded this like a trading range after that point. So uh, there was some good trading early on, which is the good thing, good part of this. So hopefully you had a pretty good day. But let's talk about the trades and we'll go from there. When I came in at 7 o'clock, prices were over in here somewhere, heading up. I didn't see anything that you'd want to take here right into these highs. But we worked back down right to the trend line. That's tempting right there. But I'd probably wait, since this made a lower low than these last two. I'd wait and see if we don't get a higher low, which we actually got right here. And notice too what happens. You got that low. There's a first entry, a second entry. So when prices broke higher here, that's a second entry long counting from here, and it's a failed second entry short counting from down here. So that's a good entry point, and that turns out to be a fairly nice entry. It did not take off straight away. It did pull back and bounce off the key entry point once again and gives you another bullish bar. So if you weren't in, I'd be willing to get in here, and I'd also be willing to add on right there. And off it goes. And you actually could count this as a failed second entry short here. I didn't mark it. You could look at that short-term trend line. That's a possibility. I didn't mark it because really you should have already been in and managing a runner. But there's a new low there, so first entry, second entry. So it's another failed second entry short. And we're not back to the highs yet, and we just came off a key entry point. So, you might, if it was right at the EMA, I'd probably make it blue. Being right here, you know, it's aggressive. So, and then of course we move up. We get a close outside that little short-term trend line, move up, and then we're working back down. You get a close out, new low. There's a second entry right there. It's right at the key entry point. We've already had a close outside and a new low. It actually broke lower and turned and went out the upper side. I like going long right there. It's tempting to add on here, but by that time you've got 3 or 4 bars stacking up. You could argue for that entry right there, but I'd probably wait and see what happened. And of course we come back and you get a nice bullish bar, and you could treat that like a double test, because you actually went higher and came back and tested it, and then went higher and came back and tested it. And so now you've tested this area a few times and got a bullish bar. I like entering there. And again, you could argue for that one. I'll mark it green. And then of course we push up and make a new high, and then pull back and make a higher low. And this is basically a double bottom. So first entry, second entry. So you could treat that like a failed second entry short. This is looking kind of rangy, but we're still making, it looks like we're picking up steam here again. And so I like that one. That turned out to be a nice trade. I wouldn't take anything into these highs right here, and I wouldn't take anything this far away from the EMA. That one's actually tempting to go short on because we've had the close outside and a couple moves up to a new high, and it's a very small bar a long way away from the EMA. But it's usually better off to wait on the lower high, which doesn't come till over here. There's actually a lower high here, but you don't want to enter down here. We've moved too far without a correction, and you see it probably, it might have worked. I can't tell if there's quite enough ticks in there. It's close. Then it pushes up and it makes that lower high. But you could probably argue for that one there. So it's only 3 ticks, and it's a long way away from the EMA. If you want to be aggressive, and you would have caught the high if you'd have taken that one, but you're better off to wait on the lower high, which comes here, and you're still getting in at relatively close to the same price level. And you can ride this one on down. We didn't break higher here. But this is almost, it's close enough. There's 2 legs down. So you could almost treat that like a failed second entry long. But it's a little away from the EMA. It is right off the key entry point. It's right back. I don't have this stretched across here, but it's right back into those lows. And that's the reason I kind of hesitated against that one. I just think you're better off to skip it. Anyway, I can't get my line flat again. But anyway, you're going short right into that. This one pushes down and comes back. It's a little breakout pullback short, but it's closed outside the trend line. And it's just a first entry, and there's a short-term correction here. And so I just didn't feel comfortable with that one. It moves down, and you do get a second entry here, but it's a huge bar right into the lows again. You've had a close and a new low anyway, so I think it's too risky. So because you're looking for a possible correction here, because this channel here is played out. So just to back up here, notice we got the break, 2 legs to a new low, and that's basically 2 measured legs, and then you get the reversal pattern. You get a low, a higher low, you push through the EMA, pull back. That's a failed second entry short. I'm going to take that one because it may take off again. We only get a scalp out of it, and then it's kind of obvious we're back in a trading range. This is a double test. Notice the low. We tested it once. We tested it twice. It's not a great signal bar, so I'm not crazy about it, but it is a double test. It does look like a range. This is the key entry point. So what you might do, I definitely wouldn't go long above that bar. It is a second entry when it breaks higher, but what you might do is wait on this bar. When it breaks higher, drop a limit order, see if it'll back up a tick or two. If you can get filled, I might take it. And then we move up, you get a first entry, and then you get a second entry. And notice here that this is a high. Generally, you want to wait on a lower high, but look how many times we've turned down there. This is a failed breakout. It's a second entry. We're a little bit away from the EMA. It's a relatively bearish bar. It's not a perfect bar. This is real close to, you could argue for this to be green, but we were turning each time we got to the line, so I felt like it was worth taking. Same thing here. It came down. You don't have a close outside that trend line there, but look how many times we bounced there. Nice bullish bar. It's probably going higher. Turns out this is the danger of not waiting on a higher low, because it does push down for another leg down. However, your scalp would have worked, and you still would have got out of that. And if I'd have been trading right there, I'd have taken that trade, just because we bounced so many times right there. And that's a nice bullish bar. And that's the thing. You got trends in here, but the range is kind of taking precedence. And then, of course, you got 2 legs down, and you got a first entry, and then you got a lower high basically right here. And so this is a higher low with another little 3 bars, kind of like this one up here. Look how far away we are from the EMA. It's a failed break out of this range. Look how flat that is. We're probably going back to test this, and probably back to the EMA at a minimum, but we may be headed back to the other side. So you may take that one. You actually get another pullback here, but that's too flat. You're right into the highs. And this just gets you right into the 2 o'clock. Too much congestion there. You can see how flat that is. And all we did was we just made a little tighter range here, and then you get a failed break out of it, and then we turn down. So this range, I mean, we're just ranging here. And again, this is somewhere in here, there's some data issues possibly as well. I wasn't sitting in front of the screen when that happened, so I don't know if this was just, if it just stopped moving or if it was moving and the data was wrong. I'm not sure exactly. We'll wait for the answer. I got an email from the broker that said they would send out an answer once they had one, and I still don't see anything yet. So some of you may have gotten something or heard something by now, but I haven't seen anything, so it's not that important. But unless you were trading something and you got kicked out with a loss or something, then maybe it was important. But anyway, uh, you had your best chances were early on, and then it just kind of got weak and flat. But that's what I saw today. Not the greatest day, a great morning really. This is a nice morning. This is what you like to see. There's lots of entries, and they all had some nice movement on them. But needless to say, the afternoon was a little bit quiet. So that's the reason I've always preferred mornings. They always felt easier, less. There's less. There's less surprises. It seems like, and that maybe I've never gone and checked the data, but just from my experience, that's my feelings on it. Somebody ever wants to run some numbers on it and see, but it just seems like there's a whole lot less failures and less traps, and it just seems to be more straightforward in the morning to me than it is late in the afternoon. So anyway, that's enough for today. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again tomorrow to wrap up our week, but I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.